You've been sold a lie. It's a lie whispered in every productivity seminar, screamed from every motivational poster, and embedded deep in the code of our modern world. It's the lie that says the secret to a meaningful life, to groundbreaking success, and to profound impact is to always be busy, to grind harder, to sleep less, to optimize every waking second until your calendar is a fortress of color-coded obligations. But what if the most ambitious people in the world are also the laziest? That feeling of being constantly behind, drowning in tasks, but never actually moving forward, that's not a personal failure. It's a system failure. A system that taught you to worship the hustle, a God that demands your time and your peace for the hollow promise of more. We've become a society of burnout artists, constantly mistaking motion for progress. The World Health Organization, for example, has even recognized burnout as an occupational syndrome. It's defined by exhaustion and reduced performance. So it's not just a feeling, it's a measurable crisis. In fact, research from Stanford University confirms that after working, about 50 to 55 hours a week, our productivity starts to plummet. It plummets so sharply, in fact, that putting in more hours is effectively pointless. So what if I told you that world-changing ideas don't come from grinding, but from a power that hustle culture has forced us to forget, the power of doing absolutely nothing? We're living in an age of toxic productivity, where being visibly busy is worn like a badge of honor. We boast about all-nighters and answering emails at midnight as if they're signs of virtue. That's the dark heart of hustle culture, a relentless push for more, often at the devastating expense of our well-being. The data is alarming. A recent study showed that a staggering 66% of American employees are experiencing burnout in 2025. Another survey found that 77% of professionals have experienced burnout at their current jobs. This isn't just about feeling tired. It's a systemic crisis that erases the line between work and life, fueling stress and anxiety. When we're perpetually in go mode, our brains get overstuffed, our creativity is stifled, and our decision-making suffers. We think we're being productive, but we're just caught on a hamster wheel, running faster only to end up in the same spot, just more exhausted. This culture has created a deep-seated fear of stillness. We equate rest with laziness and downtime with wasted opportunity. We fill every spare moment with our phones, anything to avoid the discomfort of simply being. A 2024 study found that the average American checks their phone a shocking 205 times a day. We've forgotten how to be still, and in doing so, we've lost access to one of our mind's most powerful states. But there is an antidote, an ancient rhythm that challenges this entire paradigm. It's found in a figure that seems like a contradiction, but holds a revolutionary truth: the lazy, ambitious man. This archetype teaches us that true genius and lasting success don't come from the frantic energy of the hustle, but from the quiet, deliberate power of stillness. In the world of psychology, particularly if we look through a Jungian lens, we can see a paradoxical figure emerge. Let's call him the lazy, ambitious man. He appears outwardly inactive, yet inwardly he harbors immense ambition and a deep well of creativity. Society often misunderstands this archetype because he breaks all the rules. He doesn't perform busyness. He doesn't tie his worth to his output. He operates on a different rhythm, one that's aligned not with the clock, but with the soul. This figure isn't truly lazy in the sense of apathy. His inactivity is often a sign of something much deeper. Inspired by the work of Carl Jung, we can see this as a form of psychic paralysis, a state where the sheer scale of his ambitions creates a daunting gap between his reality and his vision. It's a state of profound inner work, of wrestling with ideas so large they can't be rushed. The lazy, ambitious man proves you can be ambitious without anxiety and creative without forcing it. He trusts the process of incubation, knowing that brilliant ideas need time to gestate in the quiet space of the unconscious mind. While the world is busy grinding, he's reflecting. While others perform productivity, he cultivates potential. So, let's unpack the secret powers of this misunderstood archetype. Let's explore why doing nothing isn't a sign of weakness, but the ultimate strategic advantage. This isn't about promoting irresponsibility. It's about reclaiming a more intelligent, sustainable, and powerful way to live and work. It's time to learn the secret power of doing nothing. The first, and maybe the most profound, power of doing nothing is that it unlocks the vast, untapped reservoir of your unconscious mind, the true source of creativity. We've been taught that creativity is an act of will, something to be forced through brainstorming and sheer effort. But the greatest thinkers in history knew a different truth. As Carl Jung wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect but by the play instinct, acting from inner necessity." It doesn't grind. It plays. Think about when you get your best ideas. Is it when you're staring intensely at a blank page? Or is it in the shower, on a long walk, or in those hazy moments just before you fall asleep? That's not an accident. It's a well-documented psychological process called creative incubation. It's the stage that comes after you've done the hard work. It's when you step away, allowing your brain to switch from its active analytical mode to its intuitive pattern-recognizing one. During this period of doing nothing, your subconscious takes over. It sifts through everything you've consumed, making surprising connections your conscious mind, with its rigid logic, could never see. It connects the random dots. Stillness is the soil in which the seeds of true originality grow. The ultimate real-world example, well, it's Bill Gates's famous Think Weeks. For decades, he's retreated to an isolated cabin, just him, a stack of books, and his thoughts. It was during one of these weeks, back in 1995, that he wrote the legendary Internet tidal wave memo, a memo that completely pivoted Microsoft's strategy and eventually led to Internet Explorer. He actually learned this, in part, from Warren Buffett, whose schedule is often famously empty. Buffett knows that just sitting and thinking is a high-priority activity. This isn't laziness at all. It's strategic genius. So how do you apply this exactly? Give yourself permission to be, well, unproductive. Try scheduling some. Do nothing. Time into your calendar. Take a walk without a podcast. Or sit in a park without your phone. It's going to feel uncomfortable at first. Your brain, it will hunt for a distraction. But if you can sit with that discomfort, you actually give your unconscious mind the space to work its magic. You create the perfect conditions for inspiration to find you. And this is the first secret of the lazy, ambitious man. He knows the most creative work happens when you're not working at all. Now, if unconscious processing sounds a bit mystical, let's ground it in some hard science. You see, the second power of doing nothing is its profound, measurable effect on your brain. Neuroscience has revealed that when you disengage from those goal-oriented tasks, you actually activate a specific set of brain regions, known as the default mode network, or DMN. You can think of your brain as operating in two primary modes. When you're focused on a task, let's say writing an email or solving a problem, your task positive network, or TPN, is active. But the moment you stop focusing, your brain, well, it doesn't shut down. Oh no, it switches over to the DMN. The DMN, you see, that's where some of the most sophisticated human thought really happens, and it's responsible for quite a few things. It helps with autobiographical memory, sifting through past experiences. It's also great for future planning, simulating those future scenarios. There's theory of mind, contemplating the perspectives of others. And finally, creative integration, weaving all of this information together to generate novel insights. This is exactly why your best ideas seem to just come from nowhere when you're not even trying. Think about it. When you're in the shower, your TPN is offline, and your DMN is firing on all cylinders. It's connecting that problem you were stuck on at work with a random memory from childhood, presenting a solution your focused mind was just too constrained to see. In fact, one study even found participants were 40% more creative after a period of rest. Pretty amazing, huh? Hustle culture is fundamentally at odds with, well, this biological reality. By demanding constant focus, we actually starve our brains of the very state they need to be creative. We keep the TPN engaged all day, never really giving the DMN a chance to do its essential work. Now, scrolling social media might feel like a break, but it still keeps our attention engaged. True rest, it's unplugged. And this isn't just about creativity, by the way. No, it's also about cognitive function. In fact, research shows that even brief mental breaks during a long task can dramatically improve your ability to stay focused. Without them, you're just pouring information into an already overloaded system, with diminishing returns, of course. The lazy, ambitious man, he intuitively understands this. His periods of doing nothing, well, they're actually neurologically rich. He works intensely. That's his TPN at work. Then he deliberately stops and lets his mind wander. That's the DMN kicking in. And this cycle, you see, it's truly the key to sustained high performance. So the next time you feel a little bit guilty about taking a break, just remember the default mode network. You're not being lazy at all. No, you're actually engaging a powerful neural system, one that's essential for your most brilliant work, believe it or not. The third power that emerges from stillness is strategic clarity. You know, in the daily chaos, it's easy to get caught up in urgent but unimportant tasks, mistaking busyness for progress. Stillness is the antidote. It lets you zoom out and see the entire chessboard. This is the core of what some call strategic laziness. It's not about avoiding work. It's about making sure every ounce of effort is directed toward what has the greatest impact. As the management expert Peter Drucker famously said, efficiency is doing things right. Effectiveness is doing the right things. Hustle culture obsesses over efficiency. Strategic laziness obsesses over effectiveness. When you're constantly running, you don't have time to ask if you're running in the right direction. Stillness forces that pause. It creates a space to ask the most important questions. What am I really trying to achieve? Is what I'm doing today getting me there? And most critically, what should I stop doing? This leads to arguably the most powerful tool of any successful person, the ability to say no. Tony Blair once said, "The art of leadership is saying no, not saying yes." It is very easy to say yes. From a place of stillness, saying no becomes an act of strategic self-preservation. You realize every yes to a low-impact task is an implicit no to a high-impact one. This principle forces you to prioritize. It pushes you to find the 20% of activities generating 80% of your results, the Pareto principle in action, and to focus your energy there. Stillness allows these priorities to emerge naturally. When you sit in silence, the unimportant anxieties tend to fall away, and the truly significant challenges rise to the surface. It provides the clarity to distinguish between the urgent and the important. The lazy, ambitious man may appear to do less, but what he does do is exponentially more impactful. He's used his quiet reflection to identify the key levers that create the most movement. He doesn't chase every opportunity. He waits for the right one. This isn't passivity. It's profound strategic patience. The fourth power of doing nothing is that it's the arena where we face our deepest inner conflicts. The idea of the lazy, ambitious man isn't just about strategic rest. It's also about a profound psychological struggle. Drawing on Jungian concepts, we can see his outward laziness as a state of psychic paralysis. This paralysis often comes from the terrifying gap between his huge ambitions and his current reality. The path forward is so daunting, it just freezes him. This isn't a lack of desire, no. It's an overabundance of it, clashing with deep inner conflicts, like fear, shame, or even a fear of success itself. The lazy, ambitious man isn't unmotivated. He's at war with himself. One part of him envisions greatness, while another fears the failure or responsibility that comes with it. This inner war creates inertia. We've all felt it, haven't we? You know what you want to do, but you find yourself procrastinating, avoiding the very work that matters. Society labels this lazy, and, well, we internalize that judgment. But this period of inaction isn't a failure, you know? It's a necessary, if painful, stage. Stillness. Doing nothing, truly, isn't about avoiding this inner war. It is the battlefield. When you get quiet, you're forced to confront these warring parts of your psyche. The constant noise of the hustle is a sophisticated form of avoidance, keeping you too busy to listen to the whispers of self-doubt. Stillness removes that armor. It forces you to sit with the discomfort, allowing the fragmented parts of yourself to finally be heard. This is the beginning of integration. Instead of fighting these parts, you can begin to understand and integrate them. The person who embraces this stillness is doing the most active work of all, the work of becoming whole. His rest isn't empty. It's filled with this deep, internal negotiation. He's not waiting for motivation. He's waiting for alignment. When that moment of integration arrives, the paralysis breaks. All the energy trapped in that inner conflict is released, often in a powerful burst of focused, creative action. If you feel stuck, the answer may not be to hustle harder, but to get quieter. The fifth power of doing nothing is that it's a radical act of rebellion. The person who dares to be still, in a world that demands constant motion, becomes a powerful symbol. He holds up a mirror to our collective anxieties. This is why, through a Jungian lens, society often fears the lazy, ambitious man. In Jungian psychology, this figure can be seen as carrying the collective shadow, the parts of ourselves we all unconsciously repress. As a culture, we've repressed our deep need for rest and for a life not measured solely by output. We're secretly exhausted by the hustle, but are too afraid to admit it. The lazy, ambitious man, by refusing to play the game, embodies this repressed desire. When we see him, he triggers our own shadow. We judge him as lazy because he activates our own longing for rest, a longing we've deemed unacceptable in ourselves. His existence is a threat to a system that needs us to keep grinding. If he can be ambitious without constant hustle, what does that say about all the sacrifices we've made? He is a threat to power structures that rely on compliance. A culture of hustle keeps people anxious and manageable. The person who is content in their stillness, who defines success on their own terms, is fundamentally uncontrollable. They've found an inner source of validation, and that makes them dangerous to a system that thrives on the opposite. This is why this archetype is so vital. He represents a different way of being. He shows that success doesn't have to look like a 60-hour workweek and chronic exhaustion. It can look like long walks, afternoons spent reading, and mornings with no agenda. Success can be measured by the quality of one's inner life. Many of history's greatest minds embodied this. Albert Einstein developed his theories through what he called combinatory play. Nikola Tesla believed isolation was the secret to invention. Philosophers like Henry David Thoreau deliberately sought solitude to produce their most important works. They were all, in their own way, lazy, ambitious people who knew their greatest contributions would come from deep inner work, far from the noise of society. By choosing to do nothing, you are participating in this quiet rebellion. The final power of doing nothing is the mastery of active patience and honoring your own natural rhythms. Hustle culture operates on one frantic, linear rhythm, but nature and our own minds operate in cycles. Seasons of growth, harvest, and fallow stillness. The lazy, ambitious man understands and respects these cycles. His doing nothing isn't passive waiting. It's active patience. There's a huge difference. Passive waiting is helpless, just hoping something happens to you. Active patience is a state of alert readiness, preparing the ground so that when inspiration strikes, you're ready. Think of, say, a crocodile waiting by the riverbank. It can remain perfectly still for hours. To an outsider, it's the very picture of laziness. But its stillness, it's charged with potential. It's conserving energy, observing, and waiting for the optimal moment to act. And when that moment comes, its action is swift, decisive, and powerful. That is active patience. The lazy, ambitious man cultivates this same quality. While he appears to rest, he's thinking, observing, and letting his unconscious mind work. He trusts his own unique rhythm, a concept Carl Jung himself exemplified, producing some of his most influential work later in life after long periods of inner exploration. He understood the soul has its own timeline that just can't be rushed by the ego's demands. Honoring your natural rhythm means accepting that your energy and creativity will fluctuate. There'll be days of intense focus and days where you need to rest. Hustle culture tells us to feel guilty on those rest days, but this wisdom tells us to embrace them as a vital part of the creative cycle. Rest isn't the opposite of work, it's the very foundation of it. This is perhaps the ultimate secret of the lazy, ambitious man. His power comes not from superhuman effort, but from a profound alignment with the natural laws of creativity. He doesn't fight the current, he learns to read it and use it. He knows when to push and when to pause. By embracing this, you free yourself from the tyranny of the clock. You learn that the periods of laziness are not a bug, they are the feature. They are the sacred pauses where true insight is born. The great lie of hustle culture is that if you stop moving, you'll be left behind. The truth is, it's the opposite. It's in the stopping, in the stillness, that you finally get ahead. It's where you find the clarity that others, in their frantic rush, miss entirely. It's where you access the brilliant, non-linear solutions that are invisible to the overworked mind. This is your permission slip. Permission to do nothing. Permission to take a walk without a destination, to stare out a window, to just be. This isn't an act of irresponsibility. No, it's an act of profound intelligence and self-respect. It's acknowledging that you are a human being, not a machine. You're a creative soul that needs space to breathe, wander, and wonder. So to you, the one who's been labeled unmotivated, unfocused, or, well, too dreamy, you are not a mistake. You are a message. Your resistance to the endless grind isn't a flaw, it's a sign of wisdom. Your desire for stillness isn't laziness, it's an ambition of the soul. The world will try to speed you up, let them run, let them chase. You hold the space, you trust the process. Because in your quiet, you're connecting to a power infinitely more potent than the frantic energy of the hustle. You, the lazy, ambitious one, you're not just waiting for the future, you're building it quietly from the inside out. The world needs the ideas that can only come from your moments of quiet. It needs the clarity you find when you dare to disconnect. So I have a question for you, and please be honest. What's the one unproductive activity that consistently gives you your best ideas? Is it taking a long shower, driving, gardening, or just sitting in silence? Share it in the comments below, okay? Let's create a library of inspiration for everyone trying to reclaim the power of doing nothing. And if this message resonated with you, if you feel seen in the paradox of the lazy, ambitious man, then please subscribe for more content that challenges how we think about productivity, creativity, and success. It's time to change the narrative together.